Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here in this webinar, sharing our experiences with other cities and other professionals on participatory urban planning. I prepared a presentation with a more general overview on the work we do in Paisaje Transversal. We are integrated and participatory urban planning offices based in Madrid and also in Valencia. We have more than 10 years of experience, over 120 projects all over Spain, Latin America, and Europe as well. And we are focused also in this. Our blog is one of the best well-known blogs in architecture and urbanism in Spanish-speaking countries, but we also have some articles in English. I've been tweeting some of them according to this webinar. Of course, we all know what we are facing now and how we need to plan our cities in this integrated and mainly participatory approach, and which are the challenges that we are facing, and with this, not only this coronavirus crisis, but also the climate change crisis and all the inequality that is gathering or is establishing in the big cities mainly, and Madrid is one of the main examples on this. And for that, we thought that the idea of integrating participation in the urban planning processes should be somehow reviewed with new tools, new principles, and new ideas and new procedures. And for that, we've been analyzing the different urban regeneration and planning processes in Spain for the last decades, and we saw that there was a lack of participation in all of them. So we decided to design this methodology that is called DCP methodology, that express perfectly the idea of doing city with people. That is what we do. This methodology is based on 3 channels. The first of it will be the dissemination channel, that is about how we give information, good information to the public, and how we also do properly or make properly all the calls, and how we gather and how this information and this dissemination of the different participatory activities is also useful to engage better or create more participation amongst the projects and processes. Then the citizenry channel is about thinking on what is participation. Participation is not about voting, it's not about just having some workshop, it's about collective learning and collective building of the city. So we need to create some new spaces and new dynamics on how we participate in terms of procedures, in terms of co-learning and co-creating new solutions and new designs for urbanism. And finally, the participation, or maybe the participatory project, it's about how we co-design these solutions and these plans. In this sense, we are an office of mainly architects and urban planners, and we are thinking on new ways of urban negotiation in the sense that we are not like these super designers, but we are more urban mediators between the different stakeholders, different interests, and the different ideas, and also languages that use the stakeholders. It's not the same the way that a neighbor speaks, or the neighbor's needs, or the neighbor's desires or interests, or the ones that come from the private sector, or the companies, or the developers, for example. So we need to mediate through the participatory approach between all these interests, languages, needs, and so on. And For that, we like to think about this listening to the city. Listening to the city is not only about listening to the citizens, but also listening to the global sustainability of the city, and then being able crossing this qualitative approach based on the participatory processes, crossing it with the quantitative approach based on the measuring the urban sustainability of the neighbors, the city, the neighborhoods, the cities, and or the territories, and crossing it to make more precise and more complex diagnosis, urban diagnosis, to establish the transformation and the design of the plans and the interventions, urban interventions. For that, we created this tool that is called the Participatory Indicators that cross and somehow makes a relation between this quantitative approach on the sustainable urban sustainability from an integrated approach. We mean that we measure not only the physical aspects, but also the environmental, social, economical factors as well. And in the other side, we have like all the opinions, all the things that come from all the proposals, ideas that come from the participatory processes. So this tool allows us to cross these two approaches and make more precise diagnosis on urban areas. Well, this is, since today is the International Day of the Book, we gather all this knowledge also in this book that is Escuchar y Transformar la Ciudad, that means listen and transform the city, that is based on the idea that I just presented. And all these methodologies, all this more theoretical approach, I would like to present a very specific study case where we implemented. This will be the whole program for the municipality of Olot, for the integrated and participatory urban regeneration of two the private neighbors, the city center, and the other one will be the San Miquel neighbor. And we developed this methodology that is really based on these four phases, the previous framework where we create the different working groups and then different channels and spaces. We design the different channels and spaces for the participation. Then we, in the phase two, we do this participatory diagnosis through this participatory indicators, mixing this quantitative and qualitative approach. And then we, in phase three, we design the plan and the different intervention actions and programs that will be established in this integrated and participatory framework that we established for the plan. And finally, we have the phase four for the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the process. For the diagnosis, as I said, we have this quantitative approach measuring the different indicators of urban sustainability according to different topics. For example, we have these working topics such as natural areas, public space, mobility, socioeconomic activity, housing, and so on. And for this, we use and we measure over 70 different indicators on sustainable urban sustainability. We are measuring these environmental indicators, social indicators, housing indicators, and mobility indicators, and so on. I mean, this is a very integrated approach for the measuring of the quality of the urban sustainability. And after this, these are some examples, for example, of the different indicators based also in GIS cartographies and so on, and mapping. We measure, for example, this mobility, public space and natural environment, housing and inclusion, for example, or diversity of uses. and also all the indicators related to heritage and identity, or cultural also indicators in this term. And then in a parallel way, we use these participation processes, and as it has been said, we develop a lot of different kind of tools and strategies for INEs, and also ensure this wide range participation and a wide range citizen engagement. We make, for example, interviews. We also do some online and offline surveys. We establish in different places like these participatory panels and different kind of strategies in the public buildings and so on. We also introduce this more ludical perspective into the ludic perspective into the participation with this big playgrounds somehow, or big schools material, or big neighborhood games as well. And we also continue with different questionnaires, interviews, and so on. And we also do some activities in the public space, so other people that are not really maybe well informed on the process can inform and participate in a more game-oriented approach. And also with different, we also love to walk around the neighborhoods with the neighbors, and we do some mapping online and offline with these collective promenades or walkabouts around the neighbors. And we also have different kind of thematic workshops involving migrants, involving women, involving elder people, and so on. And we also establish an information office, so anyone that is interested in participating on or getting information on this kind of process can go there and have information about this process. And then we, with all the information gathered from the participatory activities and the studies or analysis, of the urban analysis we made with these indicators, we mix them, we do the diagnosis, and then we start with the planning, proposing this plan or the guidelines and lines of actions, and also defining the projects. And well, for example, this will be like the proposal for the regeneration plan of the city center of Olot, and this one will be for the San Miquel neighborhood. And of course, once we design and co-design, as I already mentioned, with this methodology, using workshops as well, or using meetings with not only the citizens but also the civil servants. We include, for example, through these participatory processes, we create different working groups. One will be focused on the social, economical stakeholders, and there will be another working group that is the interdepartmental group that gathers all the civil servants coming from the different departments and areas. So we ensure this integrated approach also for the plan, and also for the different projects and proposals that are included in this plan. And we use this interdepartmental group also to define the different actions. And after that, when we define and co-design this action and the plan, we prioritize and validate through a specific workshop with citizens and civil servants as well. And we will we establish also the scheduling of the plan. And it's also important not only to have the plan, but also, as you may know, have also quick wins. So once the plan is approved, we start also, we have a budget for this tactical action, more in a tactical urbanism way, that we have this, so we can start having some transformation, physical transformation in the neighbors, so in the neighborhoods, sorry, and we create and co-create and implement also with citizens and different stakeholders. We implement these tactical actions as well. And finally, of course, we do the follow-up with all the coordination, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation system, well, including not only the stakeholders and the neighbors, but also, as I mentioned, all this interdepartmental group. So we also ensure that this plan will be implemented and afterwards will be also evaluated. And well, so for now, I think it's enough. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.